Hello everyone and welcome to another OrCAD X how-to video. This is the third video in the PCB footprint series for this month. And in this video, what we're going to do is look at some simple tips and tricks for organizing, aligning, and moving your pins into the right position for your footprint. Now what I have here is a basic footprint that I started earlier, where I created a pad stack for the center E-pad. And then I also have these pins that are going around this component. And this is a QFN 44 footprint that I am trying to make. Now, if I were to take each of these pins and try to align it correctly in the right position, this can be quite annoying. So what we're going to do is leverage the search function at the bottom here, as well as the option to move our origin to correctly place all of the pins in our design. Now, right off the bat, I know that when I place these pins very roughly in my design, if I zoom in here and measure between these pins by holding down the left Alt key and simply clicking on the two pins, I can see that right now their pitch is 0.635 millimeters, which is incorrect. These should actually be 0.5 millimeters apart, so that's something we're going to have to fix. And the distance between these left pins and these right pins should be, if I look at the data sheet, around 7 millimeters. So again, what we need to do is reposition these, ideally not one by one, into the right position. All right, so let's go ahead and start out simply by selecting all of these pins. And what we're going to do is do a right click, show in search results. Now what this does for us is it lists all of the properties for these pins, such as, what the pin number is, the layer that it's on, how it's rotated, the X and Y location. And what we can do here is adjust, for example, the X location by doing a right click, edit, and changing it to -3.5. So what that does is it really quickly in bulk moves all of those pins right onto the X location that it should be. Now the only thing that we need to do is now adjust the location of the Y. So to do that, we'll do that in a second. Let's go ahead and at least get the Y location for these correct. I'm sorry, the X location for these correct, which should be 3.5. These pins here should be at Y equals 3.5 since it's symmetrical and nice and square. And these should be at -3.5. All right, now the next thing we can do is we know that this pin 45 is our origin right now. And the center pin of these 11 that we have here, so 1 through 11, the center being pin 6, should be at location 0. So again, if we select all of these pins and do a right click show in results, we do not want to select pin 11. So let's go ahead and do that again, show in results, and organize these in ascending order. Here we can see that pin 6 is currently at Y equal -1.27. So what we can do instead is do a right click edit and change this to 0. So now that pin is in the correct location, but now the rest of these pins need to be also adjusted. So pin 7 should be at -0.5. Pin 8 should be at -1. Pin 9 should be at -1.5, -2, and -2.5. And then we can do the same thing here in the reverse order, so 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, 0.5, and again, our pin 6 is at 0. So if we scroll out now, you can see that these are all placed exactly how we want them to be. Now you might be thinking, well, gosh, that was honestly super easy. How can we, make that even simpler? Well, for example, if we take this pin 1 here and use that as our new origin, then placing these pins over here should also be super simple. Since we know that these pins need to be spaced 7 millimeters from this pin right here, and then the pitch in the Y direction is going to stay as 0.5. Let's go ahead and first change the the origin by looking at our properties and selecting origin, pick origin location, clicking on this pin here. And then we're going to click on our grid and change the X grid to 7mm and our Y grid to 0.5mm. Now, it's a funky looking grid, right? But if we look here, it's essentially pointing us directly to where we need to place each of these pins. So let's go ahead and reposition them. I'll start with this one right here. Let's just make sure that we're get these guys out of the way first so that it's easier to see where they have to go. And again, we can adjust that X position in a second. So pin 23, well, actually we don't need to because we already know that we're placing exactly on 7mm from this origin right here. This is our pin 26, 25. If you ever have this issue with the snapping, simply just zoom in closer to where you actually want to place the pin, and the snapping should behave a little better. And last one right here. Okay, perfect. So now all we need to do is, adjust these pins at the bottom and these pins at the top. So similar idea, we're going to pick the center pin here and make sure that it is positioned at, well, actually first we need to put our origin back in the center of this pin here. Pin 39, which is the center of this top row, should be at X equals 0, which it already is. And then if we set the origin right here, it's just a matter of changing the grid so that we can then position each of these pins nicely. So again, we're going to click our origin, place it at the center pin, change our X grid to 0.5 and our Y grid to 7mm. And then it's just as simple as adjusting the position of each of these pins. And there we go. Super easy. Once we started, taking advantage of the pin table at the bottom and changing our origin to basically make our grid super helpful for us. What we've been able to do is create a footprint from scratch in a very fast time. Now, there's other methods of doing this as well. So if you guys have any comments or if you want to share how you guys like to create these footprints, please leave a comment below. In the next video, what we'll cover is how to create such a footprint from a template, which might be even more quick than trying to create this from scratch. So look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Again, questions or comments, please leave them below. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.